David, this clearly wasn't a rush sequel. It took about 20 years to fully come together. And I don't
Yeah.
think Anne and Meryl would have been convinced to do a rush sequel. Can you speak to that mindset that if you were going to touch this film that was a high point for everybody, that it had to be done the right way? Because I feel like a lot of sequels go in with that mindset, but it's really hard to pull off. And you don't always feel that in the finished product.
Well, thank you for implying that we did pull it off.
You did.
And I appreciate that. And yeah, we 20 years ago when the movie first had some initial success, of course, there were conversations about doing a sequel, and we just couldn't imagine how we would get these two characters back in the same room again.
Yeah.
Andy threw her phone in the fountain, and Meryl drove off, and uh, yeah, it came up regularly over the years. And it wasn't until literally 2 years ago where Aline had this thought that maybe the world has shifted so much, and Miranda and Andy are so much older, and there was there were not there was an excuse to get them back working together, but also there were themes about the decline of journalism and the rise of AI and the role of fashion and how that's shifted in the culture. So there was so many ideas to address in a movie that by the time Aline delivered her first draft to the studio, David Greenbaum, the head of the studio, said, I would make this movie even if it weren't a sequel, because it's so compelling and the characters are so rich and the themes are so important. And that was really gratifying. And I think the actors felt the same way. It wasn't just, oh, it will be fun to spend 3 months together. It was each of them found something really vital that was being said about their characters.
Yeah, I love seeing a sequel done the right way. And Aline, as David touched on, journalism is in a bit of a free fall at the moment, at least economically and business wise.
I'm
And this is
sorry, Daddy.
this is captured so well in the film. Can you speak to your interest in wanting to depict that and having Andy have to really learn to compromise from doing, work she was really proud of, and then dealing with the modern landscape of, going to the fashion world again?
I mean, I think everybody now, in whatever circumstance you're in, you're thinking, okay, this may not be exactly what I wanted, but I can make this into what I want. Like that's what she's trying to do. And the impetus really was somebody who's completely lost her publication, the place she worked. It's not just that she's lost her job, it's that they've all lost their jobs. Um, is reunited with someone who's a little bit in trouble. And that was my very first, during that period of time when famous people were getting in trouble every day, was sort of imagining how much trouble Miranda Priestly would be in, kind of on the reg. And so that idea that Andy is supposed to save her and help her, but she really has her own motivations. In some ways, I think of these movies as buddy comedies. They're so much more than that, and they're ensemble comedies and workplace comedies. But the heart of it is these two women and their sort of, you know, hopefully funny, moral, ethical kind of differences. But they want something very different out of the situation that's set up in the movie. And then, a spoiler alert, when Irv dies, they were just about to get to a point where they both felt like they were in the right position. And then Miranda loses her sponsor and Andy loses her sponsor. So that turned everything upside down again. And, that's a lot of the things that have changed in these businesses has been sort of, all of a sudden that institution disappears or that person disappears. I mean, I relate to it also in terms of like the change in Hollywood has been so fast that sometimes you get hired to do something and you think, oh God, I hope that the person who hired me is still there when I turn this in, and that speed of change in terms of who are the gatekeepers is dizzying. And you have to really be able to adapt, and that's what Andy ultimately learns to do, is to adapt a bit.
And David, it's funny. I'm sure the over the past 20 years, you were constantly being asked about it too. and now you're just going to be asked about a 3 for the next however long. Is there even an inkling of an idea of where you want these characters to go, or are you just trying to enjoy that you got 2 made currently?
Well, it is shocking. I was just literally off camera telling Aline how shocking it is that we made a sequel. You know, the fact that we're talking about it at all is wonderful and miraculous. But at the same time, I have a lot of curiosity about where they go from here. You know, where journalism goes, and where the magazine world goes and where these characters go is always going to be interesting to me. I'm in love with them, and I'm in love with that family of characters. So I'm really curious where they end up. And Miranda can't do it forever, and that's going to change the landscape within Runway magazine. So what happens is a question I would like to see the answer to.
Yeah, the audience would love to see the answer to that too. And Aline, my last question, I was just curious how celebrity cameos are kind of handled. Like you got Lady Gaga, for example. How is that written to the script, and how does that kind of morph over time?
Well, Gaga's more of a part. That was a little bit more through casting. The other cameos was like, it seems really easy breezy. The logistical challenges of getting famous people on a Tuesday at certain time to get somewhere and get dressed and get where they needed to go.
To work for 12 hours in 95-degree heat. And
yeah. And I kept saying to them, make sure they know that this is not you show up and you do your shot and you leave, because people who don't work on movies don't always know that you will be there all day. It won't be you'll be bored.
Yeah, Donatello is a lovely person. She came in, we did one take. She goes, okay,
like, hey.
Yeah. We were like, no, we need you to do that a few more times.
I could hear her saying to somebody, I don't know why we keep doing this. And it's like, I get it. It's such a, so it was fun to make up those lists of people and then to see who was available and who could show up, particularly figuring out who Miranda's friends would be. And the sort of guiding principle for that was everyone there is really excellent, notably excellent at their job, which is why you can get, everybody from John Batiste to Kat to Tina Brown. They're all sort of really, to Ronnie Chang, they're all notably excellent at what they do. And so that was really fun.
Yeah, that's a real highlight. It's cool that the fashion world really embraced this film this time around too. So that was cool to see. Thank you both so much for your time, and congrats on the Devil Wears Prada too, because you guys really delivered. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
everybody.